Critical Blast, where pop culture gets blasted.
And good evening, everybody. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at criticalblast.com. And tonight we delve once more into that wonderful world. I've got to come up with a new intro, or I swear to God, Tug is going to come down on me hard. We're delving once more into the realm of crowdfunded comics. And as always, we enjoy having people return to show us their success and go on with successive issues. But tonight we've got some new folks who've not been on here before, and they are doing the first issue of their book, Justice City Chronicles. So please welcome with me to the stream, Mark DeJesu. Mark, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Looks like you got some Voltron behind you there, man.
Yeah. You know, I got roasted the other day for having Funko Pops up there.
Oh,
yeah.
Well,
I got
yeah, because Funko Pops are for sissy girls, you know? Voltron is for mechs are for men.
Yeah, you know what? People give me them Funko Pops like as gifts. I got like Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, a couple of them. They just sit up there.
Yeah.
So
I've got a Batgirl, a Godzilla, and a Batman Beyond. They just somehow they just show up in the house. I don't know how they even got here. I didn't buy them, but they come in. And we are joined by Drawing Guy. Hey, Drawing Guy, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing, RJ?
So I'm guessing you're not the guy who writes the book.
No, you would be correct. That is very astute. I am just the drawing guy.
All right. So we have this is the mailing list day. So we don't have the full campaign up. How far along are you guys into this?
Terms of completion, I'd say about 70%.
I was gonna say I've seen a lot of finished pages, just
Yes.
From the stuff you sent me, and it looks like it's like not penciled and waiting to be inked, or inked and waiting to be colored. It's ready. It's fully ready. So, but what we have here tonight is the mailing list sign up. Do you guys have a launch date? Do you think is going to happen soon, or?
I think we're leaning towards the 8th.
Oh, that's soon. So
yeah. I mean, we're running this, but I think we're gonna launch on the 8th, which is a Monday.
Gotcha, very much. All right, so folks in the chat, here's how it works. If you see a mailing list for something, don't wait until it launches. This is the time you want to click on here. Put your email address in, agree to the privacy terms. I don't know what it does when you agree. It's something Indiegogo insists on, and you can't sign up without it. I've already signed up for the Indiegogo newsletter. You click on this, and now you're in. You want to do this because almost everybody, and I'm betting you guys too, have something that's going to be exclusive to the people on the mailing list. Am I right, or am I just speaking out of my the mouth in my back end?
You would be correct. You'd be correct.
All right. So tell us a little bit about what I just became eligible for.
If you scroll down just a little bit,
you
get the visuals. You got the
the
visuals as well as Mark's beautiful explanation of what that is you're looking at.
All right.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, we're doing trading cards with the book. There's going to be 6 of them, 7 including this one that's only available with sign up.
All right. So we got an exclusive trading card that will go with the others that are there. Nice to know that everyone else is going to get an incomplete set. You're going to have that. Are they numbered?
Yes, they will be numbered.
Okay, so you're going to have the number that nobody else is going to have if they didn't sign up for the mailing list here. Now, tell us a little bit about what Justice City is, because I'm looking at it. I'm like, I can't tell. Is this the future? Is this the past? Is this our world or another world? Because it's got kind of a mix of all of it.
Yes, it's a fictional world, much inspired by the Roman Empire. So there's going to be a lot linking it to that. But it's like a coming of age story. At least this issue will be. But it's a heavy mix. You've got some Gundam going on there. a little Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like, we got a lot of stuff mixed into this world.
Marcus and I are late 70s babies, so we grew up in the 80s. So we were influenced by some of the greatest cartoons. As far as I'm concerned, we are the greatest generation to experience the greatest cartoons, ever. So we had, so this has that we basically channeled all that, into this. I mean, it's Marcus's IP. He brought it to me. He said, look, I got this idea. And Marcus really allowed me, which is why we're still partners, man, because this is a relaunch, right? Me and Marcus did the first issue in 2005.
Oh, wow.
Those 12 we were printed and published through Ape Entertainment, and those first 12 pages are in the book, right? And so what Marcus did was Marcus went back through and he basically remastered those 12, and he recolored it. He put new caption boxes, and actually changed dialogue. So even if you have the original Justice City's issue, it is not the same story. We've really upped the quality of what it was from 2005.
It's like the director's cut.
Yeah, I definitely so, because we were able to go in. Now then there's an additional 24 pages, which has never been seen before, right? That's never been seen. And then we're going to add in another 24 pages. We have an 8 to 10 page prologue, 8 to 10 page epilogue. And then we're going to put in a 4-page deleted scene from God's Hand, which was the book.
I've run out of fingers and toes. So how many pages are we getting this book up to here?
80. It's going to be 80. Yeah, it'll be 80 pages. Square. If you're familiar with, I don't know if you backed God's Hand when it was out, but it's going to basically be the same format as God's Hand. God's Hand was an 80-page square bound trade. It looks like a trade is what it looks like. It'll be the same. It'll be the same thing.
That prestige format they used to call it. I don't know if they still do or not.
Prestige worldwide, baby. That's the format.
I love this architecture, and not just the marbling of everything, but the vegetation growing around it. That's a very nice detail.
That vegetation around that base of that statue is very. That's good stuff. That's a Marcus special right there. He added those bushes himself.
Oh,
I got very nervous. I feel like he's encroaching on my zone. I'm like, hey, next thing you know, he's going to get one of these brushes that paints buildings and trees and stuff, and he's not even going to need me anymore.
Yeah, you'll end up being like, sidekick guy.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Instead of the Gundam and the Voltron back there, it'll just be me. I'll just be sitting on the shelf like, hey, I used to draw,
This used to be Voltron.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's Anthony.
Now it's drawing guy. I won't even be Anthony.
Drawing guy.
Or used to be drawing guy. He doesn't even draw anymore.
Oh, so this has got Gundams in it as well as obviously the wardrobe of the people, the fashion. That's very not ancient Roman, but the statues in the buildings.
Yeah,
that's what I like about it. It's just like you would expect, if I'm going to wear chinos and a black T-shirt, that I'm going to be walking past plate glass store windows. But no, I'm walking past columns and arches. And
it was like I said. Somebody asked me, and I said, "Well, it's basically if you took Dune and Thundercats. I mean, Dune and He-Man, and mix them together, and then sprinkle in some G.I. Joe, some Thundercats, just a little bit of Gundam, and a little bit of Star Wars. And that's basically the world. You get that world.
A sprinkle of Star Wars.
Sprinkle of Star Wars. Sprinkle.
The old stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, okay.
100%.
Let's rephrase that. A sprinkle of Lucas Star Wars.
There you go.
Gotcha.
There you go.
The stuff that's been allowed to age and
yes.
ferment nicely.
Right. The stuff from the 80s. If it was in the 80s, it was fair game. We used it and we put, but it was one of those things that was you picked up on it, RJ, and it's one of the things that really why me and Marcus sat down and we was like, man, let's go back to this, because when we put all that stuff together and we laid it together, it meshed really, really well, and it looked good. Like it didn't look like it was hobbled together. It looked smooth, and it was like, man, it just felt like this is cool, man. This fits, and the flow of this is good. Let's bring this back, There was a lot of things that kind of messed things up. Katrina was one of them, because I'm from New Orleans, and the first story dropped in 2005, in October of 2005, and I got hit with Katrina in August, and it just kind of, sidetracked. It just derailed a lot, man. So
this time you started it up, and you're like, okay, there won't be anything like a worldwide pandemic getting in our way this time around.
Well, fortunately, what I did was I planned on that, and I said, well, let me crowdfund a book first, which I did God's Hand, and fulfill that during a pandemic. Then we got it made, baby. Like we already now we know, and no one's half the battle, so we good now,
So, did you crowdfund this one the first time around, or did you just go the independent, we're going to pay for it ourselves route?
I got to give Marcus all the credit on that one.
No, yeah, that was out of pocket.
Oh man,
this is long before crowdfunding wasn't.
I was going to say 2005. I couldn't remember if Kickstarter was around or not. I know I kickstarted some stuff in the early 2000 teens, like 2010 and 11.
I want to say 9. It was like 9, 8. I think it came out, or maybe 9, and then it kind of started picking up a little bit of steam in 12.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But prior to 12, I don't think anybody really was utilizing it. Not really, anyways.
I remember you got the same argument back then that you're starting to see today again, where it was like, hey, this is for us little guys who can't need this push, because Rob Thomas came out and said, hey, would you like me to take my Veronica Mars TV series and make it a movie? And suddenly Kickstarter made like $10 million for this guy, and it was like a record breaker of anything they'd ever done. And everyone was like, well, that just sucks for the rest of us small time filmmakers. And now you're seeing the same thing for comics on Indiegogo. It's like, hey, it's not fair that Boom Studios is jumping in here and crowdfunding or whatever it is that they're crowdfunding.
We had this conversation. I don't know where it was, but me, Marcus, we were on, and we had this conversation, and it's like yes and no. I mean, what do the alternatives is regulation, which then who's the gatekeeper?
Exactly.
Right? That's part of the issue. The other thing is that Boom brings in these things, but it's like they already have a built-in audience. They're just changing their distribution part, right? People who are spending money with Boom is going to spend money with Boom. You know what I mean? Especially when they put out My Little Ponies, or they put out these things like this. All that stuff's got its own built-in fan base. I don't necessarily think that encroaches on what we're doing. You know what I mean? I don't think that there's people who are necessarily like, hey, look, I support independent creators because the mainstream's full of shit. And then all of a sudden the mainstream comes in and goes, oh, well, they're here now, so I'm going to start buying from the mainstream again. It's still, I think, can be utilized by them, but I don't necessarily think it hurts us. If anything, it pulls their fans to us to allow us to kind of go, oh, yeah, look, there's this other stuff on here, too, that you can't get out of a comic book store.
Exactly.
That you can't get over in these areas.
Not yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't
right.
think
100%.
I don't think you're dividing like you're not driving anybody away from sales for something like what we're doing. If anything, you're getting more eyes on what we're doing by having those. But yeah, something like what is the Berserker and the Power Rangers thing that they just came out with?
That's what it was.
Power Rangers is a big IP. People are, if they're looking for that, they were going to come there anyway. You know what I mean? Like, so.
But you know what? Something like Power Rangers, if you're a Power Rangers fan and you're searching Power Rangers all the time and it says, hey, there's something on Indiegogo. If you've never been to Indiegogo and you're going there specifically for Power Rangers, well, guess what happens when you finally, buy your book? Down at the bottom of that page, Indiegogo says, hey, we have other comic books that you might like. and now they're seeing those.
100%.
Exactly.
So it's just a matter of taking advantage of that.
That's it, bro.
But eventually, I would like to see a lot of these crowdfunded titles from the indie guys end up on comic store shelves too, and we're actually doing something to work on that. But that's
awesome. Yeah, I think that's inevitable. I think that's going to be inevitable, and I think at some point, one of these titles is going to be picked up by someone, Netflix, whatever, and they're going to realize that there's a pond that no one's fishing in, and they're going to go in and go, well, there's a plethora of IPs here that we've never seen before. No one's seen before. So let's get ahead of the curve here and start developing some of these things.
We just had Greg Shen on last night with Ryan Wynn and Robert Geronimo.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing a book called The Rascals, which is punk rock bunny rabbits. And he has a meeting next week with Netflix. So
that's what I'm saying, bro. That's going to happen. Like I said, it's going to happen. You can't accumulate a bunch of talent in one place before long opportunity is going to present itself. Somebody's going to take notice. Someone's going to go, what is this over here? Right? They're going to get past all the bullshit. They're going to get past all the names and all the labels and all that shit and go, is there money here? Because I don't really care. If there's money here, I want to know about it. I want to know.
Because they're going to come in without going through Twitter. They're just going to come straight.
100%.
Exactly.
But
That's a good
we're
thing.
doing distribution for we're doing distribution right now for an Australian comic book called The Company Men, and
that's Kemosabe's book. Huh?
Yeah. So what he's going to do is he's going to drop ship it straight to us, and then we're going to.
That's a great. I've been hearing them talk about that. I talked to Bancroft about doing that in the reverse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Mike over there in reverse and saying, if I can pull enough clientele out of Australia, do the same thing. Because it's man, I just fulfilled God's hand. I just went through this and shipping these Gemini mailers overseas. You know as well as I do if you've done it. You go over a couple ounces, a couple ounces, and the thing jumps on you. And it's like, yo, man, the only time ounces should jump like that is if you're selling cocaine. I mean, it's that simple. It shouldn't be moving like that. You know.
Well, I tell you what, the thing I'm really looking forward to is having more than one client at a time, because I told Kemosabe, I said, hey, overship these things, because first of all, you'll be in demand, and then you don't have to send me more books. I got them. But if I got 3-5 titles sitting here, that's when I'm going to say, okay, Critical Blast Logistics is like Diamond Jr. Hello, comic shop over here, comic shop over there. Hey, we have an inventory of books that are hard to get, imports, and you can get them straight from us, and we can give you one of these, two of these, a couple of these, and send them in one box. You don't have to ship them all separately. 100%. Give us money. I give it to the creators. We keep the shipping. And that's
100%.
I make money through mail.
100%. It's inevitable. I mean, you that's the thing, and I find that to be interesting with the direction that the Indiegogo market, anyways. The Kickstarter market, I think, is a different market. I really do. I think Indiegogo and Kickstarter. I think Indiegogo is separating itself from Kickstarter. I think Kickstarter is for comic book creators who are content with working a job and making comic books and and making their money back on the comic book. I think Indiegogo is for creators who are trying to make a business and they're trying to make a brand, and it's a different. I told somebody, I said it's a different animal. Indiegogo is a different animal because it's not really crowdfunding. It is, but there's this YouTube digital media element to it that changes it from Kickstarter. It's not just, hey, I'm kickstarting a book. It's no, I'm putting out content. I'm putting out streams. I'm doing these things. I'm trying to start distribution businesses. I'm trying, you know what I mean? It's actually becoming an industry based on this digital side, the digital media, and utilizing that to do that. And I think that's what really separates the Indiegogos from the Kickstarters. I just, other than there's some other things, but it's a,
I'm just
it's a
looking
family
forward
show.
to seeing, being being helpful in getting some of these books on shelves. And I keep talking about doing it for overseas folks, but it kind of hit me the other day that I should be, at least telling the folks in the U.S. that, hey, I can do it for you too. Yeah, it'll cost more than doing it yourself, but what's more important? You spending a day drawing 2 pages, or you spending 2 weeks shoving envelopes into
1,000? Look, man, you talking? I did it, right? It's a whole nother. I did everything myself. It's a whole other animal. Like there's the pre-campaign, there's the campaign, there's the actual production, right? Then there's the post-production, right? Then there's the fulfillment, and it's a whole other animal. You're in a whole different mood zone. You're in a whole different, your priorities, what you're doing and stuff. Yep. It's a totally different thing, man.
And I can imagine there's a lot of people who just don't want to do it. It's like, I'd much rather be drawing another page of my next campaign, getting that thing going.
This guy right here.
So if those are you folks, contact me on Twitter. I'll be happy to help you with your shipping of your
100%, bro. 100%, man.
So tell us about some of the characters here in Justice City, Mark. I mean, I see this guy with the big glowing snake on his back, very G.I. Joe. And then I see the guy next to him who's he doesn't look happy, and he's got the red with the gray tunic on there. Who are these big bulky guys, and why are they headed to the wrestling ring?
The big bulky guys heading to the wrestling ring. It's the same character. That's Nero. He's basically the main character, or one of. When this story takes place, he is part of the Praetorian Training Academy, and when this takes place is right around the same day that he is actually graduating from said academy. So you've got the picture with the tattoo glowing on his back, and then you got the next picture, and that's him about to enter the arena to handle his business.
Gotcha. So it's a gladiatorial kind of combat graduation.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, there's some circumstances involved into why that takes place.
Yeah,
which is
I mean, the idea is that you're picking up, and part of this is explained. Marcus puts this in the 12 page. It kind of leads in, but that what you're walking into. There was a great war, and basically from this war, the city of the territory of Vittoria won the war, and the city, which is Justice City, is the shining light of peace now. And so from that, they create the Praetorian Guard, and the Praetorian Academy produce it. They basically go out and they collect the top specimens, and they train them, and they make them basically the elite warriors of the realm, and they're the peacekeepers, right? And so what the story kind of revolves around too is like Marcus is saying, this is Nero's day to become a part of the Praetorian Guard, but what you find out is that Nero's father was one of the first Grand Praetorians, and he actually started the academy. And so he also has an older brother who's 4 years graduated, who is also going to inherit the title of Grand Praetorian. And so there's this kind of story of him having to prove himself. He has to go up against these 5 top tier graduates, and at the end, he has to face his older brother. And so it's kind of, you start to realize there's this legacy family element here. What does it mean, to be these things? And so it's setting up, that dynamics. Did I say that right, Marcus?
Yeah, I think that was pretty on the nose.
Sometimes so it's not a fight to the death, then.
What was that?
It's not a fight to the death.
No. It's full contact, but yeah, death is not on the menu.
Okay.
They do have back to tanks, not really back to tanks, but they do have regeneration tanks. So it gets pretty, they will cut each other. They will stab each other. Like it's pretty, it's everything except we won't kill you, but we will basically, if I gotta,
You're
stab
there,
you through
you're
your
there.
spleen, it's gotta do what I gotta do.
It's meant, these guys are all super powered. You know what I mean? A lot of them have regenerative abilities. So yeah, I mean, your intent is to incapacitate, just not kill.
So yeah, superpowers. I was going to ask about, the glowing tattoo that definitely indicates that there's some sort of an energy inside of him. What can Nero do, or is he just like strong and I heal fast?
Strength, speed, agility. He can regenerate, and he has energy projection, which they don't. Nero, they're not quite sure what he is. Like most of the Praetorian Guard are genetically enhanced.
Okay.
Like something like a Captain America. They're kind of on that line.
Right. You have the
some of them you have elementals that have earth-based powers, elemental-based powers.
That's that guy, that water guy that he's punching through right there. That's an elemental.
Yeah. So there are more than one superpowered beings. It's not an unusual thing to be a person with powers in this world.
No, I don't. Not okay. I know it's
not super common. It's not like 1 in 10.
Right.
But they exist.
Right. And so this is where you kind of get the idea of this is where this is what we take from Star Wars. So the Praetorian Academy is like a Jedi Academy. They go out and they find people who have extraordinary abilities and bring them back to the academy and train them. And then they take them, they'll augment them, like he was saying, and the ones that they want, they'll tweak their powers up, right? Because the whole idea is that they basically say, okay, well, we're the peacekeepers. We create the Praetorians. Now they're almost like a secret service for hire. They'll hire them out to the fellow regions and whatnot to utilize, but they're the only ones who can train these individuals to be like this. You know what I'm saying? Gotcha.
So who's the antagonist in this setting? Because I'm getting the feeling that it's more than just watching Nero graduate from Praetorian Guard and yay, I can wear a uniform now. This sounds like a setup to something larger getting ready to happen.
Yes, very much so. I don't know. Who would you say is the protagonist for this? Prey?
Is it a loincloth?
Loincloth.
I would say, that's what you're. Let me put it like this. In this story, you're not sure if this is a red herring or not. You're not sure if what's being shown, because there is something where there's this clear cut scene where there's something going on, and it's like, okay, well, you don't want to do that because of this, and this is the issue. Like you don't know about this guy, and it's a bad idea to do business with this dude. And so you are led to believe that there's definitely something going on here, and then at the end of the book, shit happens. There's this thing that happens, and all of a sudden it sets. Now you're in this is what I tell people. You're basically in status quo, right? At the end of the book, what happens is it's the call to adventure. Because what happens at the end of the book sets the tone for everything that goes on from now. So everything you're getting right now is you're getting this cool ass story about this guy who's, going to this training academy, who basically is going to go against these 4 or 5 guys. And it's entertaining to watch them beat the shit out of each other. But at the same time, you're watching the relationships between the characters, and you're starting to get a picture of what this world is. And you're starting to get an idea of what is the grand picture of all this. And so by the end of the book, when that event takes place, it's like, shit, this shit just went up a level.
Shit just got real.
It just got real.
Volume 1, because there's going to be a volume 2.
100%. 100%.
How much of this ongoing epic do you have plotted out? I mean, is there a finite series, or is it just like we're just going to keep going until we run out of adventure?
The series,
It has. I mean, you know as well. Well, let me put it like this: as from a creative standpoint, I can tell you this. Of course, you sit down and you run it out. You have to have a destination. Okay, for me, anyways, it's like I gotta have, especially since we're not doing, we're doing a different, doing trades the way we do them is different. It's not like doing a 22-page floppy where I can say, okay, this is just an ongoing series and I'm just going to go forever. You got to write it a little differently. It comes in blocks because each block is an arc. There has to be some type of closure at the end of the story so that the person who just paid for your book and gets it feels like, well, that was a good story. And there's something that just happens. I want to get the next volume, but I'm satisfied with what I just read. And I don't feel let down that I got to wait now for the other volume. You know what I mean? Like you want to hit that mix, which is not always easy. So you come up with for me, when I did God's Hand, there's a finite ending, but I'm building a world that can easily spin off in so many different directions if that's what the people want. If the people go, wow, that was a great story about Jean Lafitte, but that character Whitey, who is the Yeti and stuff, that was cool. I'd like to see more about Whitey as the Yeti. Well, guess what? Guess who's getting their own book now? It's going to be Whitey the Yeti, And so I think that's the real, hat trick is, how do I do that? How do I continue to make my current customers feel completely satisfied by giving them this complete arc, and at the same time opening a world up to where it has endless possibilities? That's you're trying to thread that needle.
That being said, there's planned for 6 volumes plus 2 spin-off books.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. So, what do you think? Six books. You think about doing 2 a year, 3 a year?
We're gonna get this one out this year and volume 2 out this year because we also have God's Hand, volume 2 to get out.
Correct.
Yeah, I tried to bring that up, but that was closed already, so not in demand, so I can't show it. But you guys did well on that one, so
yeah, we're gonna offer what's it called? God's Justice.
Yeah,
is that God's Justice, which will be one of the tiers, which you'll be able to get a copy of Justice City Chronicles, and you'll be able to get a copy of God's Hand.
Did you guys anticipating the same numbers with Justice City Chronicles as you did with God's Hand? I mean,
I would like to. I would really. It's one of those, RJ. It's one of those things where you get, you'd like to, but you get kind of nervous, and you're like, oh, what if I don't hit those numbers?
Was it lightning in a bottle, or was this,
right? And so, so you take it as it comes, man, and you just, I honestly, you get to a point to where you just basically put that on the side. And you say, I don't know. I have no idea. But what I do know is I'm going to plug away at this every day. And I'm going to do the things that I did before in God's Hand. And I'm going to, and I'm hoping that the product God's Hand, my interaction with the customers shows them that, this is a good product. This is a good guy. I want to give this guy my money because I know he's going to take care of me. You know what I mean? So
alternate between, Justice City, God's Hand, Justice City, God's Hand.
let me tell you, I would like to. I mean, and the thing we were saying is that depends, RJ, on the money. I mean, you know what I mean? If this, let's just say, for example, this takes off. Let's just say it goes 50, right? It hits 50. Let's just say it hits 50. Yeah. Well, me and Marcus were talking, and we're like, well, that changes the game for us, because then all of a sudden, Marcus can take another IP he has, right? He can plot it out, and he can hire a writer to write it, or he can write it himself, and he can hire another artist. I can take another IP that I have, I can write it, and I can hire an artist to draw it while I'm doing another book. And so, you get into that territory of like Zach, where it's like you can put out multiple projects because you have the money to fund them. Yeah. And you have the money to pay people to do it. And so you kind of become more of a George Lucas type, where you're channeling all this stuff. You're making sure the property's done. You become an IP farm almost. Like, I have tons of IPs, but how do I produce all these IPs? Well, the first thing is I need money. I need the money to produce them. And if I have the money to produce them, man, I can put the IPs out. So that's part of it too. If the money shifts it, but as of right now, yeah, that's what it looks like. RJ, it'll be, Marcus and I will put out one. We'll put this out, then God's Hand, and then we'll go after Justice City Volume 2.
All right. Well, tell us a little bit about God's Hand while we're here, because I missed that one, and I looked at the cover. I'm like, holy crap, that's a gorgeous looking Mardi Gras like cover.
Yeah. So God's Hand was I was basically, a friend of mine challenged me to basically make a story that was about New Orleans using New Orleans legends. And so I went in and I said, okay, well, I took the character Jean Lafitte. Jean Lafitte's a real pirate. Jean Lafitte fought in the War of 1812 with Andrew Jackson at the Battle of New Orleans. And then I took Marie Laveau. And I came up with this idea of what if the Lovecraftian gods of chaos created every monster in existence, and these monsters took over the world, banished the gods to another dimension, made a truce between each other, and they ran the world in secret, and they created this veil over everything so that, most of the humans are just operating and doing, like, it's kind of like a mystical version of Men in Black. So you would need an organization that would go and that would protect that veil and would protect things. So Jean Lafitte and Marie Laveau wound up being a part of the NOPD, the New Orleans Occult and Protection Division, which they basically go out and they basically investigate. And like I tell people, so on the other side of the veil, you may see like somebody getting shot, right? A car get run over by a car, mugging, whatever. But in reality, it's a werewolf attack. Well, they would send Jean Lafitte and them out to go and hunt investigate it and hunt it down. The story picks up, and with the story, and that's the back stuff. The story picks up, and Jean Lafitte has a team of hunters. He's been exiled from New Orleans for something called the Katrina incident. He's been exiled, and he's now a monster mercenary. He's a monster hunter. And basically, the book starts out with them hunting. He gets a call that says, listen, Marie Laveau has been murdered. Her soul has been stolen, and an ancient grimoire is gone. It's missing. We want you to come back. We're going to reinstate you. You have 48 hours to find out what happened to her and where's the book. So he comes back to the city with his team, and basically the book is about him coming back, you finding out what's going on, you finding out what the Katrina incident is. Why did he get, exiled? You find out that him and Marie were lovers. And so you start to realize that what went down during Katrina is at the heart of all of this. And Lafitte has to basically face the sins of his past in order to find out what happened to Marie, save Marie's soul, and make sure that the city doesn't fall into complete and utter darkness.
Okay, so folks, when you finally do jump into Justice City Chronicles here, look for the God's Justice tier, because that's a book I want to read too. New Orleans has such a rich, layered mythology under it.
Oh, it is.
I got to write a franchise called Time Hunter for Telos. It was a Doctor Who spinoff, and they had done like 8 books. This guy was Honoré Le Chasseur, living in London post-war, 1952, black guy, and he could do time travel things with his partner. And I was like, let me play in this sandbox, guys, because they'd already published a book of mine. They're like, okay. I was like, here's what you haven't done. He's a black guy in post-war London named Honoré Le Chasseur, and you have not once touched on the fact that man is a damn Creole.
Right. 100%. With that name, there's 100%.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
They'd already made, comments about, he speaks perfect British accent, just like Home Office. They go out of their way to say that. And I said, yeah, and I let somebody ask him the question, like, why did you bother to lose your accent? He's like, I got people asking me if I was French. I didn't want to be mistaken for French.
100%.
But I had him time travel back to New Orleans when his mother was killed, and not save her. And it was I dug up this information on the Royal Street Vampires, which were this murderous cult that were.
How far did you go back? What year is that from?
Oh, gosh, that would have been 19.
Is that the 18s or it's the 19s?
No, it'd have been the 1930s, because it was 51 and he's like in his 30s, so it would have been 1910s.
Did you go far enough back to read about the Axeman?
I did not.
Read about that?
No.
Man.
Now, before that, all I knew was Luke Guru. You know, it's like, oh yeah, everybody knows
Luke Guru and Gambit.
Exactly.
Do that.
Yeah, Gambit. He's gonna do his own mythology in another 100 years.
No, that's cool, man. No, if you, it's amazing if you dig into New Orleans and you dig into some of the stuff. It's one of those things that you really, at the end of the day, you got to come down here. You really do, and you got to just wander around a little bit and realize how different New Orleans, just the culture itself, just you are stepping into another country. As far as I'm concerned, New Orleans is its own country. It has its own customs and everything, man.
Now you guys are doing Mardi Gras this year. I've been seeing.
Don't get me started on that. Don't get me started on that. You know.
Can't have parades.
Yeah, man. It's tough. You know what I mean? And again, the mayor is not helping the situation.
Well,
and
the mayor never does help.
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough, and there's a lot of businesses that are really hurting. You know, because it's a tourist town. I mean, it is a tourist town, and you know.
I was like, okay, I get it. You're going to drive around and look at decorated houses now, but does that mean you can go door to door with beads and knocks?
That's what I'm saying. I think most people just, you know, when it was Mardi Gras Day, some people just went out in their front yard and barbecued and shit. You know, like I tell people, it's, you know, that's normal for us anyways. You know, my uncle went down because the parade used to pass on the main road, and there's a Hooters down there. And so my uncle went down there. He like lives at Hooters, but he's big into the parades and shit. So he went down there and he set his ladders up and shit, you know, and just barbecued out in front of Hooters like he was waiting for the parade to come. And he just hung out there all day and, you know,
Hooters
drank and got loaded. You know? Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? So, you know, that's, you know, people, old school New Orleanians are like that, man. They die hard. Like the parade aspect is part of our culture. Like it's something that, it's part of your family tradition. Anybody who's born and raised here, it's like parades are part of your family tradition. You get up in the mornings, you sleep out there on the parade route. Somebody's going to pick up Popeye's chicken. You know, they bringing out the whiskey, the beer, because you can drink outside New Orleans. So, you know, it's wide open, man. You know, they got, you know, their own little portalettes they set up and shit. It's crazy. That's what it's, you know, that's it, bro. I'm telling you.
All right. So I want to ask more about Justice City Chronicles, but you know, we don't know what the tiers are going to be yet. Do you know what the tiers are going to be? What kind of stretch goals you're going to aim for?
Let me see. I think I actually think. Let me take a look real quick because I think
is it too soon?
Let me see. I think I have them. Okay, so you want me to tell them some of the tiers, or these are the preliminary tiers? This is subject to change, but this is so far. This is what we got. You want me to read them, Mark?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so we have the grunt pack. Okay, the grunt pack, which will be $20, and that'll be just the book. You'll get just the book with the grunt pack.
That's an 80-page book, man. That's a good deal.
That's an 80-page book. You're gonna want to get in on that. Then we have the Corporal's Signature Edition. All right, this is $25. You get the book signed, plus you get a metal bookmark. Ooh. Don't want to miss out on that. Then you have the Sergeant Stripes, which is $50. You get 2 books, both signed with a metal bookmark and the trading card. All right. Then you have God's Justice, $50. You get 1 copy of Justice City and 1 copy of God's Hand, both signed with a bookmark. All right. You have the Sergeant Major, which is $75. This is 2 books, signed metal bookmark, trading card, a print, and a t-shirt. That's $75. All right. Then you get to Officer's Edition. Officer's Edition is $100. This is 2 books that are signed. One of those books will have a remark in them. You'll get two metal bookmarks, 1 print, 2 trading cards, plus an original hand-drawn sketch card and a t-shirt. All right. So then we have, let's see, the Captain's Club. All right. So the Captain's Club is $150. This is a box set. Okay. You're going to get a box set. This is 2 books signed, 1 copy of God's Hand, all the trading cards, 2 original sketch cards, an exclusive metal trading card, a small metal print, and an original hand-colored piece of artwork by the artist. This will come in a box. This is a box.
Those magnetic closure boxes that we see.
Is that right, Marcus? I'm not the production guy on this. I think it was what was the one that you were looking at, Marcus?
The one what?
The box.
Box?
Yeah, no, the box. Well, you had the this is the one with the Wolfpack logo, correct?
Yeah, it was just a simple closure box with the with our logo on it and everything.
Yeah.
I haven't
sells the empty magnetic closure boxes, and
who does?
Alterna. They sell blank ones, and they're made so you can put an insert that fits it into them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's something to look into. No, that's something to look into. So you have Captain's Club at 150. Then you have the Grand Admiral's deck. All right, this is $250. You get everything that's in the Captain's Club. You get all that stuff. Plus, you'll get a hardcover edition of Justice City Chronicles, and you'll get an original page from the book, as well as God's Hand trading cards and the exclusive Death's Tarot card from the God's Hand series. And finally, cards. They do. And finally, you have the Emperor's Throne, which is $1,000. You will get everything that's in the Grand Admiral's pack. Plus, you will be drawn in the book. You'll get the original page that you were drawn in. You will get a copy of the original Justice City Chronicles from 2005, signed by me and Marcus. You will get an original copy of Count Carlos, which is a book me and Marcus did in 2016, signed. You will get all 3 copies of God's Hand, which is the charcoal exclusive, the standard, and you will get the Andy Kuhn variant cover. A large 12 by 18 metal print, plus you will receive the cover artwork.
Wow.
And that's the perks.
That's all.
For a measly $1,000, that could be yours.
That's a lot of one of a kind stuff in there too.
That's it, man. You got to do that, you know. So that's roughly what the tiers will look like, you know.
Very cool. I want one of these Justice City Chronicles logos here on like a sticker. Get that on like a clear sticker. Mule.
Marcus, what did we get? Oh, we didn't. Where? We also have dog tags. We have cool dog tags that Marcus had made, and we were thinking about making some either patches, some Justice City like patches, sewn on patches, or some type of or pins, Justice City like metal pins that you could actually put on.
Yeah, I know that I'm an evangelist for Sticker Mule, and I don't know why they don't pay me.
I love them. I love them. I just got mine. I just got mine today, bro. I just got mine today. Steph, bring me my pens, babe. I just came today because they just ran that deal.
I know.
And I was like, you know what? I just told Marcus this. I'm like, bro, go through the.
I don't even want the stuff they're selling. It's like I wouldn't go out and look for it myself, but
I wouldn't either.
Because I bought stickers. They send you an email that says, "Hey, we'll give you 50 pins for like a donut."
That's what I'm saying.
It's like suddenly I want pins. Oh yeah, check that out.
You know what I mean? So it was like, yeah. So we might even add these to the tiers too. You know? Or who knows what we'll have by then, man? You know?
Yeah, I mean that Justice City Eagle would look great.
I think it would too. I do. I think it would too. I really do. It's a very Marcus worked hard on it, and I gave him a little bit of shit about it, but you know, he's like, no, this is the one, man. This is the one. I'm like, all right, sure enough, he was right, man. So, you know.
You guys find any conventions opening up in your area where you can take this?
I don't know.
Not yet.
I don't know. I don't even know, man. I think it's weird, you know, because it's like I was making cons. Because what happened was Marcus and I, you know, we did this back in 2004, 5, 6, back when conventions were conventions, man. Yeah. And like I said, Katrina really sidetracked me, and then Marcus and I tried to make another run out of it in 2008, and it just didn't work. It wasn't the time, man. And we both kind of went and did what we did, and I guess it was about 2000. It was 2016. Guy hit me up and he's like, "Hey, a friend of mine says you do comics. I want to make a movie, but I want to make a comic book first. It's called Chronicles of Count Carlos." And he said, "You have people who can edit and this, that, and the other." And I said, "Yeah, man. I know a writer guy." So I call, I dust off Marcus. "Hey, man, you want to get back in comics?" And he's just like, I don't know. I'm like, "Come on, it'll be fun, man." And so
we're gonna get the band back together.
I'm saying, look, man. So I, we didn't do any of the writing. We strictly did. We were just hired hands. I did the art. Marcus did the editing and the lettering, and he really laid the book out. Marcus is really good at that. That's one of the things. When you look at God's Hand and you look at some of the layouts and things like this, Marcus plays a big part in that. He's very good at that, man. And he really helped me make God's Hand look like a professional book. I can never say enough about that. And he did, and he helped out on Count Carlos as much as he could. Look, I give you one of those arm pats. He helped out as much as he could, but when that book launched, they crowdfunded it on Kickstarter. I think they raised like $12,000, and then that book wound up launching in at the end of the year, and I had it when I went to Wizard World 2017. And I had been kind of making conventions, but I was doing a lot of print vending shit. You know what I'm saying? Trying to bleed it back into me, because I had just, like I said, I'd left and I was like, "Oh, I'll make prints, make money like that." But there was something inside of me that was like, "Dude, like you're a creator, you're a bookmaker." There's a difference between somebody who makes prints and someone who does books. It's two different skill sets. Just because you make prints don't mean you can make books. That's two different things. And it just kept bleeding on me, man. Like, man, I don't want to sit in here in the print. I want to be over there where they're selling the books. And then I stumbled into Zach and all that, and I'm watching these guys who are my age, who were just like, they're saying what I'm thinking, and they're going, "I'm going to make my own stuff." And then they start doing it, and all of a sudden, dude, it starts happening. And there's this community of people just like me who are going, "This is what we want." And I'm like, "I'm doing this." And I told him, I said, "I'm going to make a run at it." And I think he was like, "All right, I've heard this before." So let's see what. And I went and I did it. And I think in the process, Marcus being heavily involved with it, I think it bled something back into him. And I think it inevitably went to, let's bring Justice City back. Let's bring Justice City back out. And I think that's, what got us back to, man, let's do this.
It's a real renaissance period right now.
It is. It really is, man.
And not only that, but this whole, the way Comicsgate works and the crowdfunding works is you've got your idea and then you get in and do it, but then somebody else says, "Hey, I would like to do something with you," or, "Hey, can you answer some questions about, how your crowdfund was successful so I can make mine successful?" Can you imagine, like, if Julie Schwartz had called up Stan Lee and says, "Hey, you guys are doing a great job. What are you doing so that we can copy it?" That'd have been a slammed phone down real fast. But here it's like everybody's like, "Oh yeah, I'll tell 100%. You what I did. Oh, we ran into this problem." And
no, 100%. That's to me, that is the thing that I experienced over the last year that is completely different from, because let's see, RJ, when were you fooling around like in comics and stuff like that?
Oh, well, I've been reading comics since I was 4 years old.
Did you ever go to any of the conventions back in the day? Did you ever make any of them?
Well, yeah, as a convention goer, I used to go to Chicago Comic-Con.
Oh my God! You went to Wizard World Chicago?
No. Before Wizard World.
Oh man!
I've gone to Wizard World as a dealer because I write the Destroyer books right now, and I go.
Did you ever go to Chicago Wizard World?
Before it was Wizard World, I went there to Chicago Comic-Con 1989. I got my.
Fuck, you predate me and fucking more.
Batman stories ever told, that hardcover. I've got that signed by Dick Sprang, Dick Giordano, Jim Aparo.
We came in. Look, we came in on the heels of all of that, right? So we came in basically 2003, 2004. When you would go there and you walk in, the entire convention center is carpeted. There's DC, there's Marvel, the big displays. They got the tables out, man. We were working for Ape Entertainment. Brent Irwin was running Ape Entertainment. Well, he worked for Wizard, so we had a nice booth, man. And it was like. And again, if you went to Artist Alley, there was no such thing as print vending. These guys were comic book creators, and everyone wanted to make comics. That's all it was. And so it was such a different environment. They weren't all what you're dealing with now. Because I'd making cons from 2011 till this past year that they closed everything down. They're expos, man. They're pop expos. They're not really comic book.
There's no comic book people there. It's not like the Chicago Con. It's like there's no publisher at Wizard World.
No, that's what's crazy. The first time that happened to me is when I went back in 2011, because what had happened was Wizard finally brought one to New Orleans, and so I'm like, I hadn't been to a convention since like 06 or something. I'm like with Marcus, and so I'm like, all right, I'm kind of nervous and shit. I'm like, okay, let me get my portfolio. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna show my stuff, and I can walk in. I'm like, all right, I got the pass for the whole weekend and shit. And I'm like, okay, where's Marvel in DC and where's and I'm like, and they're like, oh yeah, they don't come anymore. And I'm like, what do you mean they don't come? What is this? Who do you talk to? And it was just a different, totally different.
San Diego. There's 3 conventions they go to. That's it.
I heard, is it Heroes World? Is it Heroes Con? Is that in like North Carolina or something?
North Carolina, yeah.
I heard that one's still pretty, like they still have some that are old school. Like this is like an old school comic book convention. Because I even heard New York is starting to kind of, there's certain sections of New York Comic Con where it's like there's car dealers there. There's all kind of fucking weird shit there. It's like, why is this here? You know what I mean? So I think there's still some throwbacks that are out there. You just have to hunt them down,
Yeah, I mean, I went to Wizard World. The only comics I found at Wizard World was a store that had a corner in the back with some back issues. I'm like, this is not where you come to pitch ideas to editors who are
no, man, no. It's so weird, and I think that's one of the things we were talking about the other day. And I agree with you. Why it feels like such a renaissance is because we remember a time when it was competitive and it was merit based. Like I tell people all the time, I remember standing in lines, man, with other guys with books, with portfolios, and I'm looking at their stuff, and there's no chumps in line. Like it's like, hey man, these dudes are good, bro. Yeah. And then one of the things that had turned me was going into the comic book shop and picking up a Marvel book and looking at the work going. They wouldn't even let these dudes stand in the line back in the day. Like they're not even, it's crazy. And you have these people who have been elevated to these positions. They didn't earn their spots, and they're put in these positions, and it's like, well, you're not good. You didn't earn it. And then when you tell them you need to improve on this, well, you're this, you're that. The reason you don't like this is because you're got something against me personally. And it's like, well, no, I don't like it because it's not good.
Yeah, but that's because the companies were run back then by people who loved comics and cared about them.
100%. Neil Adams told me that. I love Neil Adams. He would come down to New Orleans, and we had this ritual where on Sundays I would bust out the king cake. You know what I mean? The Mardi Gras king cake, and I would bring it and I would divvy it out, and I'd go sit with Neil, and we'd sit and we'd eat king cake, his wife, and everything like that. And that's what Neil said. Neil said one of the things he said is well, you got weak editors. He says you got editors that are not taking control of the bullpens, just letting the bullpens do whatever they want.
And nobody's blaming them. I mean, everybody's reading these trash comics and they're saying, this is a shit artist. This is a shit writer. I'm like, no, these are people who haven't been told that they can't do what they think they can do by people who just collect a paycheck to keep an IP alive so that Netflix and Warner and Marvel Studios can continue to make movies and lunchboxes and T-shirts.
100%. 100%.
They keep the chair warm.
That's it. And the messed up part about it is it seems as if they have allowed. I think they let this in. I don't think they realized how toxic it was, And I think when they've realized how toxic it is, it's you can't.
It was too late.
It's too late. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to say something now? Well, they'll just say, well, that's because you're racist. That's because you're this. That's because you're that. And these guys are like, well, I'm not losing my job. I'm not losing this stuff. You know, well, if this comic book industry crashes, I'll just go over to Netflix, or I'll go over here. I'll go over there. And it's a complete, you know, you don't want to be hard. You know what I mean? But it's like you have to call a spade a spade. It's cowardice. It is. And don't get me wrong. I understand that there is, you know, if you say something, there is a chance you're going to lose your job. But there's always Comicsgate, so we got you, baby. Don't worry.
That's right.
But you know, but it's, you know, and that's what's happening. And I think Marcus and I was talking about this the other day, and it was like, you know, at the same time, I think Comicsgate in general is like that, where it was like there was a part of time when we all, because we love the industry, we grew up in it, and so there's a part of us that you know, it's like, man, we want to fix this. And I think there came a point when everybody, you know, tearfully, sadly said it's done. You can't save this anymore, right? But what we can do is we can build. Yeah, we can build over here, and we can build our own. And you know what? Let them win. Go ahead, let them win, and they'll destroy all of this stuff. And what they'll do is they'll send all this money and all these consumers and all these disgruntled people to us. So go ahead and let them win. Go ahead. You got it. You got the industry. It's all you now, baby. It's all you. You know.
I would not be surprised. In fact, I'm certain it's going to happen. DC will end up collapsing, and all these people who think that, like you said, I'm just going to go to Netflix and write for them, are going to be told by somebody who actually knows how to do an editor's job that, I'm sorry, but your writing is shit, and we're not going to take another chance on this. You know, we're not going to produce a series that's going to be canceled after 3 episodes. Vagrant Queen.
Well, who's
100%, 100%, bro. You're 100% right on that. That's exactly what that is. You know, and I think and I think at the same time, it's like, you know, business wise, I think there's a part of me that is not as cynical as I may look, but I believe that they made a decision because they felt the winds of fate were going in a certain direction. They felt like this PC culture, this identity was where things were going. And for all, it really was going in that direction. And I think they made a decision to start gearing in that direction. I think something happened in 2016 that shifted all that in a way that just, it went beyond, it was no longer shit. Okay, the winds have changed. Sensibilities are starting to change. We need to course correct to capture so we don't lose the market. It was like, oh no, we're invested in this now. And it was like a doubling down on something. And I think everybody who was in comics, everybody was like, what are you doing? Like, what, this doesn't even make any sense. You're taking shit that no one wants, and they're telling you they don't want it because they're telling you with their pocketbook, and you're doubling and tripling down on it. And then you're insulting the people saying, well, you don't get this because you're this. And it's like, what is this? This is not business. This is ideology. You are full blown tilting, because I think the people who made the business decision started to realize we don't have the ability to turn this around now, because these people aren't going to let us. And so what I'm hoping is that the people at AT&T, all these people who are like, look, Robert Kirkman, who wants to buy this? That the idea that whoever takes this over is going to go identity politics, PC, all the stuff. It does not sell. I'm not interested in it. That's you know,
because that's the thing, though. I mean, if you're buying the IPs, you're not buying the artists and the writers, right?
True.
I mean, you know, so it becomes, I can hire who I want and put them on the books I want, and hopefully whoever does it has enough common sense to, you know, let's go the right route. Yeah, I mean, you have to be able to look at it at this point and go, hey, we allowed this to happen. We thought this was the way to go. It did not work. This was a failed experiment. Time to course correct. And now you have the opportunity, because it's a fresh, you know, it's clean slate. You know what I mean? It's no longer technically DC doing it. Marvel's just going to ride the coattails of the MCU until...
That's what they're going to do. That's it. That's what they're going to do.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to imagine that when AT&T picked up Warner and they're like, okay, we got DC Comics. We know DC Comics. That's Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. These are hot items. We grew up with these items. Batman, tons and tons of movies, billions of dollars. Let's see what the let's see what the the circulation is on this. 80,000. Is that in Upper New York region? No, that's
100%. Right.
You know who told me they did 80,000 circulation? Don Chin told me they did that for adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters in 1986.
It's a different game, dude. It was who was telling us that? Randy Zimmerman. Randy Zimmerman was telling me that. Randy used to run Arrow Comics. And he was telling me that it's just like, back in the day, man, like the numbers they're pushing today, it's like these we were doing that with indie stuff was doing that when indie was like, there was no internet. You couldn't promote it like you can promote it today, and they were hitting numbers like that.
They hit those numbers today, they're in the top 10.
There's something wrong because then they can say whatever they want, but it's like you can't deny you can't not look at the growing manga audience. So there is a fan base there who is interested in printed storytelling, pictures, and reading. They're just not interested in what you're making, but they're there and they're going over here to read because they're not interested in what you're making. So the market's there. Yeah. You're just not, again, you're not giving them what they want. You're trying to give them this other shit and they're going, I don't want this. And you're trying to make them eat it and then tell them that, well, you don't want this because you're a piece of shit. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I'll take my money over here and spend it on something else.
That was my grandpa's philosophy. He always said, you give people a choice of 3 shit sandwiches, they'll have a favorite.
That's funny.
So, they know that they're going to sell something. The 2 things that worry me the most, first of all, if DC and Marvel do collapse, the indies will stick around, go in the crowdfunding way. The person who's going to get hurt is the local comic shop owner.
100%.
And that's why I like the idea of being a distributor of crowdfunded books and Comicsgate books to get them on shelves, to, give them something to sell. But second of all, if they do start licensing out IPs, say, okay, you're going to do Batman for a while and you're going to do Superman. Well, you can do stories involving what you licensed. You know what you can't do? Create new characters. So it's going to just completely shut off, the ability to say, here's a brand new character we're introducing to the DC universe. I'm like, no, that's just a side character. You better kill him off or we never see him again or something.
Yeah, I think that's the way it's going to go, because it's like if you license it out, and it becomes the same problem because then you're just rehashing stuff that we've already seen. And I think that's part of it. Like for the longest time, who would you say was the last major character, like top tier character that was created? Wolverine?
Wait, what you mean, like new?
Like, yeah, something newer. Wolverine.
You could throw Miles Morales in there. You could say Miles Morales.
Venom.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you could make a case for Miles Morales, even though it's kind of a Spider-Man ripoff, but he has his own little arc and stuff. So and that's the thing. I think I've heard this argument made many times, is that even though he kind of fits that mold, Miles Morales was kind of still handled craft first. It was, let's create a story and do all this stuff. It wasn't until you got into kind of female Thor, Ironheart, like these characters where it was like, then it was just shoehorned in there. And it was just like, wait a minute, I don't like the character because you did a shitty job of building the story up. You know what I mean? And I think that's part of the issue. Me and Marcus have been talking about this for years. And it's like, I think that's why everybody loved Batman Beyond. It was such a great thing because it was like, okay, cool. Here's an old man Batman. He's still tough, but he's running things. And then there's this kid that he's schooling on how to be Batman. And everybody loved it because it was like, yeah, dude, like how long can he be Batman? Like how long can this go, before you're kind of like, okay, how old are these books? Like how does time move in comics? It's like, how many times is he going to fight the Joker? How many times is he going to fight Ra's al Ghul? How many times is this going to happen before it's like, you're starting to be, they're just rehashing things, or you end up with Spider Clone and deals with Mephisto, and it's all fake, nothing happened. You end up with you end up with shit like that.
For DC, for me, that clock started ticking as soon as Robin came down the stairs in Teen Titans with his Nightwing costume on. I was like, okay, from this moment on, he's just gotten older. We've got another Robin. Jay Garrick fought in World War II, and he is 97 years old and still running around in tights. It just it made time flow instead of always being this moving 5-year arc that was just kind of always a constant present.
It's definitely something. It's me and Marcus talked about this, and and I think him and I think Frank Miller's a big fan of doing this, where it's like you love these characters and you want to tell a story, but you're a storyteller. So it's like, if I really want to tell a story, then there's an ending, and more than likely this guy's going to die, because that's what heroes do. They go the distance. They go as far as they can go, and they push it, and they sacrifice everything for the greater good. So, when you have these stories where they never die and shit, it's just like, yeah, you love Batman, you love this kind of stuff like this, but there's a part that's just kind of like, where's this going? How's he going to get out of this? We know he's going to get out of this. We know he's going to, you know what I mean? You kind of start to lose that. And I think that's, as independent creators, we have that ability now to then tell stories with these characters. That's my thing, man. I'm a storyteller. I'm a creator, right? I want to tell stories. I don't, I love having IPs. And again, if the IP and that's what the people want, I'm game for that. But I don't think you should be afraid to end your stories at some point,
No. I mean, that's how I feel. Like Justice, like you were asking about Justice City before. To me, there's an arc. When the arc is done, that's it. You know what I mean? Like I have a story to tell, and I would rather tell you a great story and have you walk away from it and be like, wow, that was awesome, than drag this thing out, another 20 years. It's like, money's great, hey, big fan base, but like, I'd rather something that holds up, where it's like, now that was great. Now I'll move on to something else.
Yeah, because that's what happens with these longer running ones. It's like, you don't just go out in a blaze of glory, say, oh, this is great from beginning to end. You keep publishing until nobody wants to buy it anymore. And what do they remember? They remember the one that they didn't want to buy, and lament about how good it used to be, rather than say, this was great. And still is, and I'm going to reread it again. And folks, if you want something like that,
there it is.
Sign up.
There you go.
For the mailing list for Justice City Chronicles here. I have already signed up, which is why you don't see the little linkage there. But the link to get to this Indiegogo is right below the video in the description. I encourage you to click on that. Harrowenberg's been doing a great job of keeping the chat.
Yes, he has. Hail Harrowenberg. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
So if you're seeing the live replay chat, click the links in there. If it's not replaying anymore, click the link in the description. If you're watching this after the second week of March, the link will take you directly to the campaign. You won't have a chance to sign up for the newsletter, and you won't have the chance to get this one-of-a-kind, exclusively offered.
Exclusive.
To the
there you go.
Let's not say one-of-a-kind. That's not really true. This exclusive trading card only for the people who sign up for the newsletter in advance of the campaign. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure having you on the.
Oh man, thank you, RJ.
Thank you.
I can't believe you and I haven't crossed paths before, but
let's not make it that long.
That's right. No, absolutely not, brother. Absolutely
we do
not,
open
man.
mic night every. We do open mic night every Sunday. So if you guys see an open mic out there, just grab it and come on in, talk comics.
Sweet. 100%, man.
We do an LCS guys show every other Saturday, and we got one coming up this Saturday. And
what is it?
The LCS guys show.
Gotcha.
Every Saturday at 7, we have 4. Started when COVID was really going strong and everybody's shutting down. I was like, what are you guys doing? I brought 4 comic shop guys from around the country to roundtable basically and say, how are you guys surviving?
Right.
We had a guy in California, had to shut down. My local comic shop guy here in St. Louis, shut down but dealing in the back alley. Michael Tierney, who was my local comic shop guy when I lived in Little Rock, not shut down because Arkansas didn't shut down stores, but didn't have any new comics because Diamond did.
Right.
So, he had a store that he was open, and he eventually shuttered both of them because he couldn't, he couldn't keep the employees there because they weren't selling anything.
Right.
So he closed his stores and went strictly mail order. And he was the one who was saying that as a retailer, this whole Marvel Universe business of, female Thor, teen girl Iron Man, Captain Nazi America, he had people come into the store saying that they had just, seen Thor in theaters. They'd just seen Iron Man. They want to get the comics. And he's like, well, we had the comic, but, Iron Man's a teenage girl now. Thor's a woman now. Captain America's a Nazi now.
It was one of the I'm telling you, man, I'm like,
it was a missed opportunity.
It was, you didn't, I to this day, this is what I'm saying. Like, you have to attribute it to something other than logic. You have to attribute it to something other than business because it doesn't make any sense.
No.
You want to make Ironheart? You want to make female Thor? Do it. Why the hell would you cut out an original line and just say, cool, you want this Ironheart? Cool. But we got the Iron Man book over here. Oh, cool. You want set it in an alternate why did you say, sorry, no more Thor like you read and invested all these years. No more Captain America like you read and invested all these years. No more Iron. Why did you do that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was like just create create an MCU line, create a Marvel Universe, a cinematic universe line. And why did you cut your nose off to spite your face and lose opportunity? You lost opportunity. I mean, it's fucking mind-boggling.
Marvel spent $1 billion for a 10-hour long commercial for a product they don't sell.
100%.
Yeah, and it's not that they even did all those things. They could have said, hey, Jane Foster's going to be Thor for a while because we all knew it wasn't going to last, and it didn't last. But they did all of them at one time, and it was just like just this bombardment.
We got the message, Yeah, too much at the same time.
So
too much of a bad thing will kill you.
Well, we're starting up a whole new show, guys.
I know. We'll come back. We'll come back and finish that one.
We'll come back and talk to that. So thanks for coming on, folks in the chat. Always glad you're here. Be sure to go out and sign up for Justice City Chronicles Volume 1. And thank you for coming here. We don't have a show without you. And as always, we